Yeah, so those are meeting reports, right? Meeting
Yes.
out.
Yeah, so one comes out here to the,
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the Cloverdale City Council meeting. Call meeting for 6/11. Thanks for your patience with the
I don't know, what- that was late.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Figure out what day. Just check.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record reflect, all council members are present.
So cameras will be on
Anyone have a
there.
conflict?
Here.
Seeing none, any changes?
Computer right there. So one of those.
Yeah, I swapped the two.
Public
So
comment,
maybe,
any person wishing
that
to
out.
speak in person on an item not listed on the agenda
To
may
pick
do
up
so at this time.
Report.
Pursuant to the Brown Act, the city council is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any
I
item
assume.
not listed on the agenda. 3 minutes are typically allowed to each
Plug that
speaker,
up and then go.
anyone in the audience collecting.
Zoomies.
Seeing none, we'll move forward. Student liaison report, Keiko, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. It is a brand new month for the Cloverdale Unified School District. Just last week, the elementary school had a walk and roll where students and parents met at the plaza at 7:30 a.m. and all together walked to school. April 4th was the last day to order Washington Middle School Seas Candies fundraiser. A flat sheet of which will be delivered just in time for Easter.
Well, that's Mike's
The high
camera.
school
That's
has
Mike
a
himself.
photo
Like the camera feed from Mike's top.
Anatomy class had a fun and creative lesson on horses.
Where?
Yes, real
It's his
horses were
laptop's
walking
camera.
to school. They were given animal safe paint and instructed to draw with a horse's digestive tract in order to learn a bit more about its anatomy. Sunday will mark the day that AR Club will be finishing its multi-month-long making project. Members met up to make budgets will be donated to the.
Yes, it's his laptop computer.
Congratulations.
So this goes in the.
Finally, the
No,
That's a network, network connection. Because each of the cameras have an IP address.
Learn about leadership and participate in competitions. They also had a celebration of their own efforts by watching the Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Keiko. There was something you missed in there. I read about you in the paper. Can you tell us how you are doing in softball?
The team's doing pretty good. Right now, our score is 10-1 wins.
I'm pretty sure it's fine.
We just beat Clear Lake yesterday.
You just have to combine them
And
with,
we're gonna be 4 back tomorrow.
I read you had 2 or 3 inning games for Delaware, so that's really great to see. So I'm proud of you. It's awesome.
Thank you so much.
If you go to sessions, mess with us.
Seeing none, we'll move forward to proclamations. D1, Week of the Young Child.
A proclamation of the City Council of the City of Cloverdale recognizing April 5th through the 11th, 2025 as Week of the Young Child in Cloverdale. Whereas the Child Care Planning Council of Sonoma County and other local organizations in conjunction with the National Association for the Education of Young Children are celebrating the Week of Young Child, April 5th through 11th, 2025. And whereas these organizations are working to improve early care and education opportunities that provide a foundation of learning for all children in Cloverdale, California. And whereas high-quality early care and education can help ameliorate the effects of poverty, detect and remediate delays, identify and help prevent child neglect, and lead to positive outcomes for individual children, helping them be better prepared for school and more likely to succeed in life. And whereas young children need developmentally appropriate, accessible, and available early care and education settings. Whereas young children need access to early childhood education workforce that reflects a rich diversity of linguistic, racial, and cultural identities.
Here.
Whereas child care providers are skilled and valuable frontline professionals that risk their health to provide early care and education during a global pandemic deserve to be fairly compensated. And whereas early childhood education providers and other community members who make a difference in the lives of young children in Cloverdale deserve thanks and recognition. Now, therefore, be proclaimed that Mayor Lambs of the City of Cloverdale is hereby declared April 5th through the 11th, 2025 as Week of the Young Child in Cloverdale, Crisis Recovery and dated April 9, 2025. So ordered.
I mean, I got all my other
Just for us.
Any comments?
I just want to recognize our local preschool provider, 4Cs. Just the money that's spent on early child care comes back to our community about sevenfold by giving working families an opportunity to go to work and benefit our whole society. Also want to give a shout out to the Cloverdale Imagination Library, which provides kids up to 5 years old with one free book per month, and that's also in English and Spanish.
Great, thank you, Councilman. Anyone else? All right. Anyone from the public want to say? We'll move into D2, National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, for Dispatchers Week.
This is a proclamation of the City of Cloverdale recognizing April 13th to the 19th of 2025 as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Whereas unforeseen events necessitating the intervention of emergency services such as police, fire, or medical teams can arise spontaneously, and whereas in the face of an emergency, the swift action of police personnel, fire department members, and emergency medical technicians is essential for safeguarding lives and securing property. And whereas the well-being of our law enforcement and fire service units relies on the precise and timely relay of information received from callers to the Cloverdale Emergency Communications Hub, and whereas public safety telecommunicators form the first point of contact for our residents during a time of crisis, providing an indispensable resource in accessing emergency assistance. And whereas public safety telecommunicators provide a crucial connection to our police and fire personnel, keeping a vigilant watch over their radio activities, rendering vital information and affirming their well-being. And whereas the public safety telecommunicators of Cloverdale have made significant contributions toward the capture of law offenders, the mitigation of fire outbreaks, and the provision of patient care. And whereas over the past year, our dispatchers have demonstrated commendable empathy, patience, and professionalism in the execution of their duties. Now therefore be proclaimed that Mayor Todd Lands of the City of Cloverdale does hereby declare April 13th to 19th, 2025 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Cloverdale and commends our dedicated team of dispatchers. Tammy Lemley, Tanya Galloway, Carolyn Peterson, Lori Smith, Darlene Stratton, Dispatcher Supervisor Caitlin Jensen, and Records Manager Linda Webb, for their unwavering commitment to upholding the safety and security of our community. Dated April 9th, 2025, so ordered, Todd Lands, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. And we have Kathleen Jensen here to receive the proclamation. Do you have anything you'd like to say? Can we start making fun of you and calling you things like that, or do you
No, we really appreciate recognition because we are very much nameless and faceless and take a large part of anger from our community. So,
The microphone's up here, I can't quite hear you right. He's not afraid of a microphone.
no, he's not. Do that never mind.
What she was trying to say is they sit behind the desk all day, and you really don't see them. But they are the nucleus of our agency, of your community. When you guys call, these are the folks that pick up the phone and get you where you need to be. I always say I cannot do what they do. I can give them a potty break, but that's about it. But they're deaf, phones in their ears, people at the desk talking to them, officers in the field that they're responding to. They respond medical, help with fire, they do it all. So, they're multitasking with entering stuff in the computer while all that's going on. It's just amazing. They're a good group of folks. You hardly have any turnover in dispatch. We had the new hall come back this year. They're just a really good group of people. I'm honored to be with them. to work for us and the community. They're just really, really awesome. And we can't appreciate them enough. I stay out of there because I think I'm getting away with it.
You know how to answer a photo call?
Yeah, I don't, but, you know, it's just a great resource to have. They help with cases as well. Officer asks, hey, I remember such and such had a case, this might be tied. They've solved cases for us too. So it's like, you know, they do it all, and we appreciate their efforts. And I just can't say enough about it. Thank you guys for all you do.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to kind of reiterate a little bit of what the chief said. As someone that's worked with a lot of dispatchers, they're the first ones that take the calls. They're the last one to get the information or the resolution of that call. They don't know what always happens. The officers there, they don't always relay the information back. A lot of these calls from officers can go from 50 heartbeats per minute to 180 just by the sound of the voice on the radio. And they're your sense of calmness, they're your sense of security, and they're the ones that can make or break
I am, so.
people's lives. And so anyone that's ever worked with a police dispatcher, fire dispatcher, they know that they have to be a certain type of person. It takes someone very special to do it, so thank you all. Now you have to take pictures. Yes. Chief, walk the door.
You gonna do it here, Chief?
I'm trying. I do. I normally don't until I get on this camera.
You should be able
Come on, Chief, get in. No, you're gonna use it even worse.
I know.
Tell guys to look.
Which one are we looking at?
My first? Right here. Everybody say cheese, cheese.
That's the only one that's
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm good.
All right, moving forward. Let's see. We're into key presentations, resilient city update. This will be Becky. Becky, are you ready? Get yourself a moment. Do the Jeopardy game in the back, please.
Well, my sticking point is that I need my glasses to see you all, but I need to take them off to read my papers. So I'm just going to take them off, and then either it's to my advantage, or either smiling, or you're totally giving me graphics. But welcome. Thank you so much, Council and Mayor, City staff. My name is Becky Ennis, and it dawned on me that as a facilitator for Resilient Cloverdale, the council has changed over, and I haven't had the opportunity to meet or speak with the majority of you. And so thank you, Chief Parker and Kevin, for allowing me to come down and talk to you about Resilient Cloverdale and get you all what we like to call ourselves 100% Clove ready. So I brought you all stickers tonight because by the time I'm done, you'll be able to stick this on your window at home and say that you are ready, you are Clove ready. So just real quickly, a little bit about myself. I have had the honor and privilege of being somewhat member of the Cloverdale community for the past 7 years. I came up here as the Senior Center Executive Director for a short period of time with Melanie over there for a little bit. And then when I left that role, I continued on with Resilient Cloverdale and the initiative Clove Ready in that group. And I'm also a board member for La Familia Sana. I am their treasurer. So I'm very much a part of the community here. And that is me. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. So where did Resilient Cloverdale come from? We started as a group right after the Kincaid Fire of 2019. And if you'll remember, Kincaid Fire presented Cloverdale with a interesting situation in which the fire itself did not cause any evacuations. Bless you. But the city was left without power and gas for about 4 to 5 days, which really hasn't happened for anyone in Sonoma County to date. And so once that happened, obviously, right, people started to congregate at the Citrus Fairgrounds. And one of your residents, bless her heart, Kay Wells, lived in Clover Springs at the time. Her children, Diana Holmesy and Daniel Holmesy, very much a part of the emergency preparedness community in the city and county of San Francisco. When that happened and they hadn't heard from their mother in a while, they came up here and kind of took a look around and saw what was happening and was super impressed with your Rotary Club, service clubs, the folks that were putting it together with little to nothing to serve hundreds of people at the fairgrounds. And it was after that event that city got together with Daniel Holmesy to say we need to debrief this situation, we need to come up with a plan, we need to move forward with a collaborative that's going to have our city in mind. And that's where Resilient Cloverdale came from. Our mission is we are a cross-sector cohort of both local and county nonprofits. We have faith-based organization representatives, government agencies, businesses, civic networks, and individuals that is making smart investments to advance readiness at the individual, organizational, and community levels year-round. During times of stress, such as the pandemic, this network has successfully activated and worked collaboratively to protect the health and well-being of the residents of Cloverdale, employees that work here, guests within the town, and within the surrounding region. And that little photo there was for you to just kind of see the size of the Kincaid Fire. But what I really wanted to put up, and I did not include, and I'm sorry to say, was the most recent CAL FIRE local responsibility hazard safety zone map, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. Next slide, please. So we have a long history here in the past 6 years, a lot of collaborations, a lot of accomplishments. We have a Citrus Fairgrounds Care and Shelter team that's very much headed up by Jim DiMartini and his group. The champion really for this was a previous CEO of the fairgrounds, Katie Young. She was here during that time of the Kincaid Fire, and Jim has really kept it going. With the Chamber of Commerce, it's our fiscal sponsor, so we do have an arrangement with the city where we have received funds in the past for our efforts, and Nina and Savannah have been the team over there to assist me with that. We had an opportunity to work with San Francisco State University, so within your packet you received the published study that came out in 2024 around that work that was done here in Cloverdale. And again, that came off of the Kincaid Fire, right? The USGS, United States Geological Survey, they have a project called Haywire. They've been researching what it would be like if there was an earthquake on the San Andreas Fault, and the effects were very similar to what Cloverdale experienced with the gas and the electricity shut-off. So Cloverdale was really a prime location for this social cohesion study, and that was led by Professor Jennifer Shea with San Francisco State and some of her graduate students. That was a couple-year process during COVID, so it took a while. I was happy to see the published report and wanted to make sure that that was in your hands. We also collaborate with many, many other organizations. I have a huge laundry list, but just to give you a few of the depth and breadth of the people that we work with, You've got the Vets Hall, American Legion, Governor Office of Emergency Services, Sergeant Cope, the Fairgrounds, the city, Clover Springs Block Captains, Susie, Cloverdale Healthcare District, Chamber, Fire Protection, the library, the police department, Cloverdale Connect, the multi-purpose senior center, Kiwanis, La Familia Sana, Latinos Unidos, Nuestra Comunidad, Living Water Church, on, Supervisor James Gore, Sonoma County Emergency Services, etc. So we have about 50 organizations or individuals, and so we know a lot of people, and we're trying to bring them here to Cloverdale. That wonderful little picture up there, some of you are in that, but that was our award the county gave us in 2023 for all of our efforts that this group has done. And I'm super proud of that. That was, why am I forgetting Jason's last name? Ferguson. Chief Ferguson's application and nomination, and subsequently we were awarded that for our efforts. Okay, next slide. Okay, so what's Clove Ready? So, you know, and I have to admit here, we've watered it down a little bit, not on purpose, but you know how waters do get gray from time to time. The group is Resilient Cloverdale. The initiative is Clove Ready, and that is what this slide and what we're going to focus on for the moment. And it's all about disaster preparedness, community outreach, and infrastructure resilience. So for example, with disaster preparedness, like I was mentioning with the CAL FIRE maps, CAL FIRE has comprehensive data and modeling of wildfire fuel potential. And basically, long story short, Cloverdale has moved into the very high severe zone range, which is very different from what it was prior to 2024. And so I do have a couple copies if folks wanted to look at that. But basically the impact on Cloverdale is a couple of things. One, the defensible space requirements have changed, and so consequently the first 5 feet around any surrounding structure must remain essentially free of vegetation. And so a lot of these things now, it's potential that folks could be fined for not having these taken care of. But also just to, again, highlight the risk in combination with the Potter Valley project and the potential lack of water coming into this area. And I know there's a lot of levels to that, and I don't even dare put my toe into that water, pun intended. But I think what it comes down to for me is to say to you all that whatever might happen to Potter Valley is maybe not necessarily within the control of the city of Cloverdale, but taking care of city of Cloverdale residents and preparing people for times of a disaster absolutely is. And so that was basically what I'd like to highlight there. We also do a lot of community outreach. Those are just some of the populations listed here on the slide. And again, this work is either done within the group or within collaboration of other members and other organizations within the group. And then we are now just sort of in this year tapping into some of that home hardening because of these changes within CAL FIRE, wanting to educate folks on home hardening and what can be done there. And I know Susie's gonna maybe talk about that for a hot second in her 3 minutes, but that is definitely an important area. But we also want to stress that there are lots of congregate living here, whether it be assisted living or apartments or senior apartments. And I would assume that there are codes and whatnot that they need to follow in order to prepare their residents to evacuate or assist in evacuation. I'm sure we can all recall Santa Rosa in 2017 and what happened there for a lot of those senior facilities and assisted living facilities, and that's just not anything that we would like to see here in Cloverdale. So, moving on to our goals, if you wouldn't mind, next slide please. So these goals, and our group just met as recently as yesterday to kind of start outlining these. So I had to make the slides before the meeting, and this might be a little bit not as detailed as I would like it to be. But basically, these are our goals here in our buckets of folks that we want to spend more time extending support to here in Cloverdale. And that is not to say that these folks in Resilient Cloverdale haven't done any work already. There has been a lot of work. The Senior Center has done a Vial of Life program where people place their medicines and they write them all down right, and they put it in a vial, put it in the refrigerator or the freezer, and first responders know where to look for those. La Familia Sana has done a lot of outreach and education and preparedness and resources so that folks understand what these nixels mean, what these zones are. So, this is just, again, it's a never-ending project, right? Like, it's like exercise. We gotta kind of keep doing it, right? You can't just do 50 push-ups and call it good. You gotta keep going. So this is in addition to what has already been done. We want to continue looking at the number of retirees and other residents that are moving into the area. We want to continue to support them. Folks that have limited capacity to shelter in place, so maybe they don't have enough food stores, maybe they don't have enough medicine supplies, those types of things. The ability to evacuate, so older folks don't necessarily drive or have a car or can drive any longer. What I've learned in other disasters and evacuations is that older folks don't want to leave without their pets. That's a very common thing that happens, and so folks will stay at home until they can get their pets together. Those that are economically disadvantaged, again, if you can't put food on the table, the likelihood that you are going to then advance your readiness or find resources for evacuation is pretty slim. And then we have our Latinx and other groups where we have some communication barriers in times of crisis. Most recently, right, we've got weather news reporters that are no longer broadcasting severe weather reports in Spanish. They're now all being broadcasted in English, and so this is going to cause a national and local problem if we don't communicate in lots of languages, especially in a time of emergency. So these are just sort of the groups that we want to plug into a little bit more. And what is not on the slide and came up in our conversation yesterday, we also want to make sure we're outreaching to families with children, particularly small children, because they have some different things there that they are going to need to prepare for when they need to evacuate. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. So know your zone. This is one of the big evacuation tactics we're pursuing with Cloverdale. This is basically, right, folks have seen their evacuation map. There are 6 here in Cloverdale. We want to make sure we get that information into everybody's hands here in Cloverdale. But particularly, we're hoping this year to be able to kind of bolster, as it says on the slide, bolster the disaster resilience of vulnerable populations by serving your community-based organizations that serve vulnerable populations, if that makes sense. A little bit of a trickle-down economy. So, we had a wonderful tabletop exercise in December over at the fairgrounds. It was an earthquake simulation, but nonetheless, it got community around the table in their specific zones, individuals and representatives of their community-based organizations, to really walk out what it would look like to respond with various, situations and things happening in that scenario. And I'm going to quote Nina real quick. I know. But after that was all done, Nina said to me, that makes the most sense that I have ever in the past, it was like, a couple of years, right? So, to get your hands on it, to be able to do that on a regular basis with your community partners is super important, and we want to make this an annual thing, if not maybe twice a year, if the weather allows, if you will. We also want to support organizations in your community to craft emergency operations plans, but also a continuity of operations plan, right? So every business or org has an emergency plan, what to do when, here's where to shut the gas off, here's where to all that stuff. But then once that all settles down, how do you continue to serve? How will Alexander Valley Health continue to serve after an earthquake once they figured out that the building is still standing and it's not on fire? We still need to tend to residents and the medical needs. So those are 2 different plans. We want folks to have support in that. And then, of course, as I mentioned, just again, distributing our evacuation materials and working on some home hardening resources for people here in Cloverdale. Next slide, please. simple way to do it. You have a party. So this was our neighborhood fest, our neighbor fest last year that we held at City Park. It was a fairly well-attended event. It was somewhere between 100 and 200 people, accounted by the number of tacos served. And it's just an opportunity to build social cohesion. A lot of this connectivity, building bridges and whatnot, is coming out of the social cohesion study and the recommendations that were made and getting people to know each other, basically. We want to see Cloverdale have a block party on every block if possible. Excuse me. I knew this was going to happen. I can't answer it. I got Invisalign, and it makes your mouth really dry. And then you're like, yeah. It's like having braces again at 12. Do you know what I'm saying? You do. But you're not 12, I know that. So social capital is really what's most important here. The idea is that we're building social connectivity amongst neighbors. We're not saying you have to be friends with everybody. But what we're saying is that you need to know your neighbor, you need to know your neighbor's name, you need to know, do they live alone? Do they have a pool in the backyard that you could tap for water if needs be? All of those resources and things. Do they have medical needs? That kind of stuff. Again, increasing our awareness of evacuation and how to get out of your neighborhood. And just some general overall readiness strategies. Getting people out of their homes to meet people. The city graciously has chosen to waive permit fees for those that want to host this type of event for this purpose, which is nice, right? It's like $25 back in your pocket, so that's a nice way to do it, but we could always do more. So, how can we do more? Next slide, please. So while I did not bring, or am not making a concrete ask in terms of dollars today, I wanted to bring this information to you and just know that I will be following up with an actual budget request. Of course, we are looking for funding to put materials in people's hands, both in English and in Spanish. We are hoping to, again, need a lot of education and connection around those materials and explanations. We've got a lot of people that, don't know Watch Duty, for example. It's a great app on your phone. Not everybody knows how to use phones, and building that opportunity, maybe even tapping into some of our youth to get with some of our older generation and making those intergenerational connections so that, again, we're building community, we're building social capital. We also want to address some policies. Again, like I mentioned, we need to make sure that our assisted living sites and others are prepared to evacuate. If there are multiple levels, there's a strike chair for people to come down off floors that are not on the ground level. Things like that. They're very important. Building codes, infrastructure, resilience. I'm sure you guys know all about that. I don't need to get into there. But also the big one for me, again, is just building that trusted communication. There's a lot of ways people can communicate with each other, but really, what's the trusted source? What is the most vetted information? And where are people getting that from? And who do you want your residents to get that information from in a time of disaster is very important. Emergency hubs, great idea. Again, coming off the block party, getting little groups of neighborhoods together within those evacuation zones if there is a shelter-in-place need, having resources stashed throughout the city of Cloverdale. And I will say, Jeff Peters is putting a lot of work into that. I'm trying to assist him in placing trailers throughout the city, and with Johannes at the county level and public infrastructure, and we're making some headways. Just recently, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Todd Brown, has offered up parking lot space, and we're going to see if that works out for that end of the boulevard down there. So possible, just not quite there yet, but definitely following every lead, and if you have one, I would love to know. So just kind of finishing and rounding out, last slide, please. I wanted to end with something because, again, like I said, this isn't something that's one and done. This is ongoing. We can learn from so many disasters. This was Santa Rosa in 2017. Of course, we've had the Palisades now at the beginning of the year. But you know, again, I just would love to share what I feel is just a very sad story of one of your own local residents that passed away in his home. And really it's because of Susie Cummings that he was found because, you know, she brought him cookies and tried to get him to connect and come out of his house and whatnot. But, you know, it's really a shame that that is how someone's life ends. And, you know, folks could say maybe like, well, you know, people want to live on their own, they want to do their own, okay, sure, maybe. But even those that we know and love, if we're not connected to them frequently, if we're not checking in, if we're not, again, being a good neighbor, anything can happen at any time. And I think it really just boils down to having Cloverdale be the most connected city in Sonoma County. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So questions, comments, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Something that kind of spurred right there was the block captains.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a good job going on up there in Del Webb and all that. But up in some of the other neighborhoods, I don't know if people know, like in my neighborhood, I have one way out. And I know there's a second way that brings you up onto Hot Springs Road, but I don't know who one with the city has the key to that to get in there. I don't know who the block captain is.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the reason the importance of block captains, I went through the 2017 fire down in Coffee Park, and I know the evacuation zones and everything are important, but when it comes down to brass tacks, people are in their car and they're gone. They don't care what zone they're in. There's going to be traffic jams. There's going to be stuff flying everywhere. So it turns into complete chaos. So just a couple things I think in some of the meetings I'd be willing to come and attend one of the meetings and kind of solidify some block captains in different neighborhoods.
Yes,
So
please.
because right now I honestly couldn't tell you who in my neighborhood may have attended this meeting or any of these meetings or who to go to. I know I'm going to have a lot of people coming to me. One, unfortunately, have the experience of going through it, but I would like to coordinate with somebody else and open up that second way to get out of our neighborhood and do a couple other things. Also, I think something that would be good to be maybe added to all of this is after the fire, after an earthquake, is the re-entry process. When they do finally allow you to come in, my gosh, it was just as much chaos. You know, you had to go, the guys down in Coffee Park had to drive all the way up to whatever, somewhere in Fountain Grove and get a golden ticket and come back and check with 2 other people before you could even think of going in there. So those are just some more things to add. Like I said, I think it'd be good if you'd contact me or email me at the city email. I'd love to come and sit at one of these meetings. I do have a lot of experience in that and also a lot of search and rescue type of experience. So tap into it. I'd be more than willing to share with you.
I love that, thank you. And you can also reach me via email, resilient@cloverdaleChamber.com.
Will do.
But I will find you.
Thanks, Becky, for taking some initiative to get the CERT trailers home. I like that you're putting an emphasis on building an inclusive community. I think that's absolutely vital. Saving lives is always the first priority during a disaster, and if people are conscious of their neighbors and everyone is communicating, that's our first responders come in and do what they need to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know we've been on this for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
I was on the school board when this thing started.
Yes, you are.
So it's been a while. But, between you and Daniel and Diana and so many people in Cloverdale, Bob Cox, Jamie DeMartini, Nina, Susie, I could go on and on with names. A couple chiefs that we've had now. You guys have done amazing work, built an amazing program. We just need to keep working on it, refining it. It's a fluid document that is only going to get better. And I think we're so much better off now than we were 5 years ago when the fires happened. We're doing finishes there. So thank you for all your hard work. I'm going to open it up to the public at this point.
Sure.
Any questions or comments for you? Anyone? Please come forward.
Hi, Kirsten Taylor, Director of Development, Alexander Valley Healthcare, and you live on Becky's long list of
You are.
participants. We are, and as a participant, I want you to know that Alexander Valley Healthcare values this organization and sees it as essential to our community. and we have representation on the Resilient Cloverdale meetings on a regular basis, and are really trying to learn how we can do more to support the community in times of emergency, and I really appreciate the City Council's support of these efforts. Thank you.
So,
Could
I'm
you state your
Nina
name for the
Hitchett.
record, please?
I'm sorry?
State your name for the
I
record.
was Nina Hanchett, I'm the Executive Director of the Cloverdale Chamber of Commerce. It's nice to be with all of you again and see all the seats filled, yes, very nice. Fans. I have been involved with Resilient Cloverdale since the very beginning. As Becky stated, we are the fiduciary, which means that we submit the invoices, we go through them, we do the ordering of supplies and that kind of thing. One of the most important things I think that we did, it was a couple of years ago, is we mailed a packet to every address, business and residence in the city limits, with evacuation maps, evacuation tags, and information on how to use those. Encourage people to put them in their go boxes, go bags, or whatever. Plus, we developed the most amazing suite. We didn't do it, we had it done, Clover Ready website, cloveready.org. You can learn, if you haven't been on that website, you can easily learn what you need to do in order to prepare for how to evacuate more than anything. Who's on your list? What do you do? What do you pack? I'm not in that order necessarily, but it's, and once you go through it, you are Clove Ready. So it encourages, and even though, there it is, right there, yeah. So what we encourage people to go to that website, but not just do it once, because you need to kind of refresh your memory. Everybody thinks, well, we haven't had a wildfire here. Well, we've had lots of little ones, but it's important to be prepared. I have my totes with my cat. I have her cat carrier ready to go. I don't like thinking about it, but you gotta do it. You gotta do it. One way in, one way out. And if Highway 101 is closed, we're not going to get help for a long time. So I just wanted to thank Becky for her efforts. I want to thank all the people that have been involved with it for their efforts, and I think it has a lot of value. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Anyone else? She's going to need a 3-minute timer.
I'm Susie Cummings, and I'm the chair of the emergency committee at Clover Springs, but I'm not here as a representative of Clover Springs because I've never been authorized to represent them. But I do attend the Resilient Cloverdale meetings, and I'm here to speak in support of them. And the value, one of the biggest values I see in Resilient Cloverdale is the communication that could be, that we could have during an emergency. Because during the Kincaid fire, that was the one thing that people really were upset about, was nobody knew what was going on. And Kay Wells, for instance, didn't know that there was food at Ray's or at the Citrus Fair. And so she had very limited food left in her refrigerator when her children came to check on her. So that's part of the birth of Resilient Cloverdale. So communication is really super, super important for me. And what I like about Resilient Cloverdale is I'm connected to all these other agencies, including the city, and they're connected to me. And it's a network, and I'm involved in radios. We've talked about how to activate Resilient Cloverdale, so it's more of a response organization, whereas my emergency committee does not do response at all. And so we really focus on the neighbor knowing neighbor, and neighbors being good neighbors and helping each other out. So it's the same thing, it fits right in with the rest of Resilient Cloverdale. It fits in with COPE. I'm a member of COPE, Communities Organized to Prepare for Emergencies. So that's a similar thing to what we're all talking about with the block parties and getting to know your neighbors. I also have a son who is an emergency manager for the county of Los Angeles, and so I know he's been real concerned about the lives lost in Altadena, and so that is something that we just definitely don't want to happen here. And so I really put a lot of emphasis on being connected, and for me to be connected to other people who can maybe help us in Clover Springs, or who we could help. We might be able to help when there are needs in other areas. And I have started, I guess my time is gone, sorry. I want you to know that we have formed the first Firewise community in Cloverdale, in the Cloverdale Fire Protection District. And that's in a part of Clover Springs, and we're expanding into other areas of Clover Springs. But that also, the Firewise program also has the focus on evacuation, neighbors knowing each other, helping each other out, not just home hardening defensible space, which we're going to need to do because of the new maps, but a lot of education also. So we'd be happy to help anybody out who wants more information about that. But anyway, I'm really super supportive of Resilient Cloverdale. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for all your hard work.
If you have any questions about Firewise, I can help you.
I wanted to thank the ladies for coming because I knew I was going to forget something, but can I approach lunch now? Thank you, Your Honor.
Anyone else in the public want to make any comments? Seeing none, any closing comments from the council? Seeing none. Becky, anything else, any closing comments? Are you good?
No, thank you. I'll follow up.
Thank you for everything, and thank you for all your hard work on this. All right, moving to the consent calendar, all items under consent calendar will be considered together by one action of the city council unless any council member or member of the public requests an item be removed and considered separately. Any council members pull any items? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who can pull an item? Seeing none, have a motion. Move the calendar approved by Vice Mayor, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Morgenstern. Voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you. Moving to H, new business, introduction and first reading amending sections of the Cloverdale Municipal Code regulating vacant commercial properties in downtown Cloverdale. Kevin, it's you.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor and council members. This item is an introduction and first reading of the amending the code section to include this, what we're calling the vacancy ordinance. This has been talked about for quite a while. There's been a couple subcommittees. Just a short version of it is it really it requires owners of vacant properties, currently the way it's written in the downtown area as defined by the ordinance, to register with the city. Part of that would be we would have information about who's the contact person, the 24-hour-a-day contact person for the building. The building has to be kept clean, up to date, and one of the more important things I feel like contained in the ordinance is that we'll require an annual inspection by both fire and building. So we'll be able to get in there and see what's going on, make sure everything is safe. It does require that the building be posted with a contact person so that anyone can contact people who, if there's anything going wrong with the building, there will be a contact person. There will be a fee associated with it, so we'll have to come up with, work with the fire district and the building department to figure out how much to cover that cost and cover a little bit of our admin cost to administer this. I think it's a good first step to try to get at the buildings downtown that are vacant. It's, I wouldn't say it has a ton of teeth in it, but this is kind of as far as we can go with this version of this type of ordinance. There are other ordinances out there that require ballot initiatives and are a lot more complicated, but I think this is a really good first step. So we're asking tonight that you know, we can have a discussion about it if you want to amend anything, and we can talk about what's in the ordinance. We're asking for an introduction and first reading. If you get that far tonight, then we'll bring it back on consent on the next calendar, and then it'll be adopted, and then 30 days after that, it goes into effect.
So,
This is, I think, a really very, very important ordinance. One of the questions I had about, and bring this up to the rest of the council, is about whether this is going to be just for the downtown or citywide. You know, there's a lot of other locations that people have expressed concern about, and you know, it's important that we get this right and we can move forward in getting some of these things resolved. So that's one of the questions, is whether this is downtown or citywide. I would also like to add the language that this would, under the reason for this ordinance, that it impedes our economic development, as well as, you know, safety and fire hazards. This is something that's long overdue. We have a lot of businesses that are empty for way too long, so that's some language I would like to add and get everyone's opinion.
Well, in the purpose and intent, we can add some language about economic development. And in terms of just the downtown only, it was debated back and forth at the subcommittees. I think we landed on downtown, but it could have easily gone the other direction. But that's just where it landed. I don't think there was any real reason other than maybe there's the chronic downtown vacancies that people are really interested in. And so I think, you know, just if there will be a little bit of staff time in administering this, so if it was citywide, it'd be a little bit more time. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but you will have to go, you know, look for the vacant buildings and find the owners and send them notices to make them aware of this ordinance and make them, you know, go on our website and go through the portal and register. But
That is a concern. I think, you know, looking towards the future, that this is something with our economic development that's going to generate a lot of money for taxes, you know, having our businesses operating. So I think this is a good investment to even, you know, some of the fees can only cover staff time, is what I understand. So it would be nice to see this go forward. I would like to see it citywide and see how this goes for the next year or so. Looking towards the future, maybe would make some additions to our municipal code provisions, possibly on maintenance, and just take a look at that, make sure things are sufficient and comprehensive. Those might make our fees a little more impactful towards some of these vacant buildings, and see how this goes in the future. It could be a possibility to enact a vacancy tax. You know, that would be a ballot measure. So I definitely would like to see this move forward and help get our businesses going.
Anyone else?
I think it's something that's really important, and also it will make Cloverdale be more appealing if more buildings have occupants, or even if the ones that don't have an occupant at the moment, like some of them don't clean up their leaves outside their building. There can be rodent problems, which is not fair to their neighbors, and so I think it's something that we really need to get done.
Along with what Baker was talking about earlier with Cloverdale resilience, if the buildings, we have an earthquake and these buildings are not manned and maintained, and they have active fire standpipes, and that could also drain the water that we may or may not have in the future, and that could also be a problem. So that type of situation, the building going in there and having a look to see if those buildings are safe and has any maintenance.
No, I agree with everything that the council said. I'd like to see this get some pretty good teeth to it. It's going to do, like Councilmember Lasky said, is water's huge. You know, if it does come down to something like that, we don't want to see water go to waste. And also, it's going to make downtown Cloverdale look a little bit better. I mean, you can't walk down, take a day and walk downtown and have somebody not see the buildings that we all know are vacant. They've been there for years, and there's always a complaint or something. I think if this gains little teeth, it's going to really get downtown cleaned up a little bit better. People will be driving some business to come up and have it be attractive enough to come up and have businesses in Cloverdale. So,
And just a quick on for the public's knowledge, this is based more on historically vacant buildings. It's not based because we want someone that's had an empty building for a month. We don't want to be punitive. This is people that have been trying to rent one building for decades, and the owner will not let people. These are the building owners that refuse to have renters. We have businesses that want to come here, and building owners that don't put anyone in their empty buildings. And that's been bringing this along. It's not to be punitive to our business districts or in any way. I like your idea of full citywide. We started with the downtown district just because that's where a lot of the issues lie. And that's where brought that up. It's been a couple of years now to get this going. So I'm good for either way on how the council wants to work that as well. If we want to start with downtown, I think there was something about a business district that we had to stick into. Alex, was
We can go for all downtown, all of the city, we define it using commercial properties. I think what I'd recommend, if that's the direction the council wants to do, is we'll make those changes, not do the first reading tonight, and just put the first reading on consent at the next meeting. Or if you give me a minute, let me search through, and see all the places we list downtown, and we'll make that into the motion.
So motion, first reading with the word Cloverdale versus downtown. Would we make this the first reading? I'm trying to push this.
Yeah, so we can make the motion, read the ordinance by title only, and then eliminate the reference to downtown, the definition of downtown in section 8.40.00, and the reference to downtown, within downtown in section 30.
And do you want us, when we read the by title, read the title without the word downtown, and then do you want us to state the use of
Yes.
Okay, so what are 8.40 point?
20
Yep.
and .30.
So that makes it, we can.
May I comment, please, Mayor? The other thing was the mention of making this comprehensive, that this is going to be a fire inspection and also a city inspection.
We already do that, just so you know, so if we add that into this, it will delay this process, but that is already a mandated thing we do.
Okay, great.
And the buildings that we've talked about in the past, is a yearly or more inspections. Just know that it is happening.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I was just gonna say, it does require an inspection, and I spoke with Alex to indicate that we're gonna, as the inspections can be fire and building. Within our rights to do that.
I'll open it up to the public. Anyone want to make any comments regarding this first reading?
Not here. I'm Nina Hanchett, Cloverdale Chamber of Commerce. This high time, my world, welcome to it. Our world, welcome to it. Yeah, the vacant, and I've read the vacancy ordinance, and that they're supposed to have it, their buildings look good, and they don't. Rat raceways, people are in the doorstep. Yeah, high time. I wish we could really put some fangs in this. Make our town more beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Anyone else? We'll bring it back. Any comments, questions, concerns? Anyone like to make a motion?
I just think some of these buildings can turn into, or are already really bad health hazards because of mold or rodents, and so I think it's really important.
All right, I want to introduce the first reading by title only, an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cloverdale, adding chapter 8.40.20 and eliminating